Let's bring him in. He is the Lions beat writer for Freak.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Dave Birkett. The great Dave Birkett joining us now on the phone. How you doing, Dave?
It's a January miracle. I can hear you.
What do we do? Hallelujah.
Hey.
Hallelujah.
Thanks, Dave.
Right. Thanks for the time, my man.
Somebody must have been hiding the button somewhere.
Right.
I brought it back.
Dave, great piece on James Houston today on Freak.com. I want to get to that in just 1 second. But we sit here and we talk about the Lions and the draft and the free agents and all this stuff. If you had to say today a fair number that you believe the Lions need starters at how many positions? Do they need starters at 5 positions? Do they need starters at 3 positions? What would you say, looking at their roster, where they have to get X number of starters for 2023?
Are we including
free agency?
Like
Yes.
replacing the guys that are free agents?
Yep.
All right. I would say you need one at running back. I mean, Jamal Williams is a free agent. Right guard. DJ Chark is a free agent. I think Jamo's going to be really good, but you don't know yet, right? So maybe that's a little bit lower on the list, but you need to have some insurance there just in case. Then defensively, man, there's probably a few spots, probably at least one cornerback spot, at least one safety spot, just given the injuries that they've had at those positions. And let's say a linebacker, Alex Anzalone's a free agent. So I would say let's start with 5, and you could probably throw a defensive tackle in the mix as well. So let's call it 6.
Dave Birkett, people are saying a lot of different things. I've heard anywhere from move from 6 to 4. I've heard take 6 and move back to 9. I've heard trade 18. I've heard a ton of different things. I've heard take offense. I've heard take defense, go defense, go offense, defense. We're going to hear a ton of different things. Am I not right? Am I not right? This is one thing that I think has to be a constant, and this needs to be a for sure. I just want to know if you agree with me. At 6, I got to get an interior defensive lineman. If you want to take one of those guys like Myles Murphy, or you want to take one of those guys like T. Wilson that can go in and out, I'm cool with that. But 6, everything else, I'll see Brad Holmes' genius, and I'll trust it to him. 6 got to be a defensive lineman. What say you, Dave Birkett?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. That's probably how it'll shake out. I mean, look, it's super early, to really know exactly how these guys are going to stack up on draft boards, but that's the way the strength of the class appears right now is a defensive lineman in the top 10. And I don't think the Lions are done at that position. I think that would be a wise move, especially given the way that Brad Holmes wants to build this roster. We've talked before, Bray, Brad wants to build a monster, to use his own words, right? That's what he said they did in L.A. with the Rams when they took Michael Brockers and Robert Quinn and Aaron Donald, basically back-to-back drafts. That's what they tried to do on the offensive line, and I think that's the intention on the defensive line as well. So I don't think that's the most pressing need, but if they could find a 3-tech that could rush, depending on what they do in free agency, that would just complete this, maybe not complete, but that would make this defense extremely scary with Aaron Glenn calling plays.
Hey, Dave, let's stick with the free agents the Lions have. Of the ones that are here, you got Jerome, you got
Jamal,
you got John Kaminsky, quite a few others,
Bugs.
Anzalone. Who are you signing for sure here?
I did a little ranking last week of sort of, the Lions, the 15 free agents, and it wasn't necessarily in order of who I would re-sign, who I would prioritize. But I do think there's, it sort of falls along those lines. I mean, John Kaminsky is definitely a guy that I would bring back for the money. He was extremely valuable to what they did defensively, and his ability to play inside and out, and sort of, play off Aiden Hutchinson and help him out. I think he was extremely important. I'd try to bring back Isaiah Buggs. Same thing, just for the money, a run-stopping defensive tackle, nose tackle. You still need an interior pass rusher, but I think Buggs has some value for what he does. Look, I don't know what the money is going to be for Jamal Williams. I mean, I think certainly he's a valuable piece both on the field and in the locker room. But running back's a spot that I wouldn't overspend at, and I do think that's a spot the Lions could draft at. So he might rank a tick down that list. And look, if the money was right for Chark, I'd bring him back too. I think the one thing that the Lions and Brad Holmes have really done a good job of in free agency, because they've, they haven't done a whole lot, but they haven't anchored themselves to any big contracts, and that's important. I think in free agency, you can sign guys to 1 year, even 2 years. You're not getting bogged down for what you want to do in the future. You're not tying up playing time for young guys. I think you want to bring a couple of those defensive players back, and then if you can have, add a skill guy like a Chark, or add a role player like a Josh Woods on special teams, I think those guys would be important to bring back too.
Dave Birkett joins us, Detroit Free Press, Lions Beat. Okay, man, just your opinion only. Will they finally draft a quarterback in this draft?
My opinion on will they, not high. I don't even know if they'll do it late. I think they seem to be rolling with Jared Goff here, and he had a really good season, and I certainly get that. Me, Maz, I'm on the maybe like the always quarterback train.
Yeah.
You're Patrick Mahomes, but the reality is all those really, really good quarterbacks are in the AFC right now.
Yeah.
It's Mahomes and Burrow and Josh Allen, and throw Trevor Lawrence trending at least in the mix, Justin Herbert. So I don't know that you can run that gauntlet in the AFC and make the Super Bowl unless you have one of those guys. And I think in the NFC, you can. You don't need a Mahomes to get through it in the NFC, right? Because Jalen Hurts is probably the best quarterback in the NFC right now.
Yep.
Who's after that? So I think I don't think the Lions need a quarterback. If I was the Lions picking 6, I would still do. I would turn over every rock and stone I could on these quarterbacks to see if one of those guys was my guy. And I don't know about the drafting one late. But at least in the mid rounds, I think I would rather, as good as Brad Holmes has drafted in those rounds, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kirby Joseph, some of these starters that he's got. I don't know that I would spend a 3rd round pick, 4th round pick on a guy that you hope doesn't play and that you're going to need to replace eventually.
You got it.
Dave Birkett, here's a question for. Actually, I agree with you on Bug, Skipper, Chark, Williams. I think they listed his price point right now is $4 million. I think that's doable over a 2-year period. Not to mention the Detroit Lions let Jamal Williams be Jamal Williams. We can all say that. So I think he's found a homer. So I think those two sides will be willing to work together to keep him here. But here's a thing that keeps coming up. I also from Jalen Ramsey. Is he still worth a first rounder? Is 1, and 2. If he is, would you give up 18 for Jalen Ramsey? Deep breath on that one, right?
Well, look, you talk about Jamal right at $4 million and being a culture fit here, right, and being that sort of guy, like, being his own personality and a leader and all that. Like, that's he is in a lot of ways what the Lions want, and I don't know that Jalen Ramsey is just from afar. I don't know what he's like up close, obviously, but knowing some of the problems that he caused in Jacksonville, I wonder how that would fit in the Lions locker room. So, and without having studied his tape, I know people have said, that maybe his play took a step back this season. He's still one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. The Lions have an extremely, glaring need for help at cornerback. But I think if I was building this team, I would rather keep my draft picks, sign someone in free agency if I could. That way I'm sort of getting the best of all worlds there with bringing in young talent and maybe adding a veteran who can really shore up that spot too.
Dave, I like that. Hey, but be careful about going 2 teams back, because if the Rams would have paid attention to 2 teams ago, Odell Beckham, they might not be Super Bowl champs.
That's true. And you're right, because everyone, look, different situations, right? You start winning. That's what people want at the end of the day. So that matters.
Hey, Dave, one of the things, whether it's Jalen Ramsey or somebody like Jalen Ramsey, we have not seen Brad Holmes. We've seen him draft. We know he can draft. We have not seen him lure a big-time free agent to Detroit yet. They haven't had to, but do you anticipate he will have a big splash at some point this free agency, or more methodical approach?
Yeah, I think it's probably another DJ Chark type player. Maybe it's a defensive tackle because they do need that, or maybe it's a linebacker. I don't know that it's going to be a you're signing a guy for a 5-year, $80 million contract. I don't think that's how the Lions want to build, and I think that's the right approach, frankly. I think with all the young talent that they have in the pipeline right now, and with all the the capital that they have to continue to improve going forward, in the way that Brad has drafted, frankly, I sort of, if I'm running the team, I like my chances, with the plan that I have in place. So I do think you need to supplement, and you do need to add some talent at key spots. But again, I would be careful about overspending, because you don't have to look too far into the future to know that you got big contracts coming up for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell eventually, and maybe even Jonah Jackson, guys like that your own guys that you've developed that you want to keep around.
And Dave, that leads me exactly to where I want to go next. If you look at the 8 teams that played last weekend in the divisional round, Jags, rookie quarterback. Mahomes agreed to a deal, $30 million, but it really kicks in next year. Giants, rookie quarterback. Eagles, rookie quarterback contract. Bengals, rookie quarterback contract. Bills, rookie quarterback contract. Allen's contract kicks in next year. Cowboys paid Dak, but the 49ers, rookie quarterback contract. 7 of the 8 teams last week in the divisional round are playing on contracts, somewhat of a rookie contract realm. Does it behoove the Detroit Lions to really make Jared Goff your quarterback and not move on with him after this year? I mean, don't you have to take somebody this year and really build it like that?
Well, and that's the other contract, obviously, that's coming due if you believe in him. And look, I think that's why the whole quarterback discussion is a little more complicated than just saying, Jared Goff's our guy. He played really well this year. We think he's turned a corner, because there is so much benefit to having a young guy on a rookie contract, and if you have that guy for 5 years, the way you can build that roster. Look, if I'm the Lions, I think that's just a discussion that you have to have philosophically. Like how do you want to approach this and build this? Because when you pay Jared, if you decide you're going to pay Jared, you're probably looking at a $40 million a year type deal. Maybe more than that, because Burrow and Herbert are going to get $50 million this year. So and look, the cap is going up, and numbers, whatever. There's plenty of ways to make that math work, but there just is. The way the 49ers are built, the way the Eagles are built, what the Lions appear to be trying to do with paying all this talent around the quarterback position and making the best 53 that you can. We've seen, again, especially in the NFC, that it can work. So I don't think the Lions have to be locked into yes or no on a quarterback, but I do think that has to be a discussion point of how do we want to build this thing, what's the best approach for our organization going forward long term.
Dave, I got 2 for you here. One's a quickie, and then one's a scenario. First one is, do you think Jeff Okudah comes back?
Yeah, he's still got 1 year left on his contract, so I think he'll be back in 2023. Big question is, do they pick up that 5th-year option? I put this in my mailbag the other day, or the other week. I would, if I'm running the Lions, I don't know that I would pick that up right now. Not significantly more than he's averaging on his rookie deal. I think it projects to be a little over $10 million, but I think he needs to prove that on the field before you go ahead and pick that up. And frankly, just it hasn't happened so far in the first 3 seasons.
All right, here's our fun scenario. Ryan, I, and Braylon brought it up. Actually, Ryan brought it up. Chris Sims copied him.
Yeah, right.
Just put yourself.
Put
yourself. Come on, here we go. Listen.
Don't even go there. He says he
don't
knows.
quit on me. Don't quit on me here. Put yourself in Tom Brady's shoes.
Not the Detroit Lions shoes. Tom Brady's shoes.
Go ahead, Ryan. You do it.
Carlos.
Go ahead.
Hey, Dave, this is their scenario.
Well, I'm just saying.
But Chris Sims copied us.
Listen to me. Listen to me. If you're Tom Brady,
right?
Not the Detroit. If you're Tom Brady, would you go to the AFC, go to Miami or Las Vegas and play against Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, Russell Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson? Or would you look at the NFC and see, where can I go? And you've done everything you've done everything you could possibly do in this league except one thing. How about go win a Super Bowl with the Detroit friggin' Lions? I mean,
Shock the world.
Like, from Brady's perspective, I just think it would make sense. Now, whether Brad Holmes would listen to that phone call or not, I don't know.
No.
You know,
just pretend he'll listen to it.
You know,
Dave.
I mean,
Would you do it?
I mean, how about
Right.
Brady and Anthony Richardson for 1 year and move off Goff?
So, Braylon, I'm glad that you bring some smarts to the show.
Hey, man. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, look, if I'm Brady, first of all, I don't care who I'm playing against. I got 7 rings. I'm the
Thank
best
you.
that's ever done it. So why do I care if I'm going in the AFC or NFC? I can
care.
beat you, but no matter who I got around.
You're coming
So,
home.
Yeah, and maybe I want to go to Las Vegas where I'm matched up with Josh McDaniels, who I had much success with early in my career.
You already
So
did that already.
That's number one.
You did that already.
But okay, look, just to play along, like, sure, it would be intriguing. The Lions have lots of parts, a really good offensive line, but it's not happening.
What about Lamar Jackson? He's going to be out there.
Same thing. Look, Lamar is going to cost if the Ravens, if they don't franchise him, he's going to cost $50 million a year or whatever to get him. $45 million a year. So I don't see the Lions paying that. I don't think the Lions are, currently constructed with a group that would fit Lamar best. And I think the Lions, given what they have on the roster and what they can do, look, Lamar's a better quarterback than Jared Goff, right? Tom Brady has had more success than Jared Goff, but I think the Lions are comfortable with what they have at the quarterback position.
The great Dave Birkett, thanks so much for humoring me at least.
Keep in mind, Bailey. Keep in mind.
Thanks so much for
Dave.
humoring
Why gotta be
me.
a party pooper, Dave?
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Dave.